Dawn was just breaking, pouring golden, honeyed light over the endless grasslands of the African savanna. A gentle breeze swept through the sparse acacia trees, carrying the scent of damp earth and tree sap. It was a scene of unusual tranquility, but beneath that calm, the harsh instinct for survival played out every moment. And on this particular morning, a faint, almost imperceptible cry tore through the fresh air. A sound so fragile, it could have easily been swallowed by the vastness of this land. But it wasn't. Deep within a cluster of tall, dense grass, a tiny bundle of fur shivered. It was a lion cub, perhaps only a few weeks old, its tawny coat matted with dust and a fresh wound marking its tender flank. The terror of a recent chase by a hyena pack still clung to its tiny body, and now, abandoned and alone, it lay gasping, its cries growing weaker with each breath. The rules of the savanna are brutal. Only the strong survive, and a wounded cub is often left to its cruel fate. Yet, in this vast theater of survival, an unexpected audience member appeared. From the dense foliage at the edge of the clearing, a formidable figure emerged, a silverback gorilla. These magnificent creatures are known for their quiet dignity, their avoidance of the chaotic clashes of the savanna. They observe, they reflect, often remaining unseen. But on this day, something shifted. The silverback, a grizzled elder with eyes that held the wisdom of countless seasons, suddenly paused. His massive head tilted slightly, his large ears twitching, straining to discern the source of that faint, desperate sound. The savanna, in its eternal rhythm, had just whispered a secret, and the gorilla, against all instincts, had chosen to listen. How far would you go to protect a creature that, by nature's design, should be your adversary? This story will show you how blurred the lines between adversaries can become. Driven by an instinct it perhaps didn't even understand, the gorilla began to move. Its massive frame, typically a symbol of immense power, now moved with an almost ethereal gentleness as it parted the tall grass. And there it saw it, the trembling lion cub, so small, so utterly vulnerable. The expected reaction, according to the savanna's ancient code, would be indifference, or perhaps even aggression. Gorillas and lions occupy different spheres, rarely interacting, and certainly not with benevolence. But this silverback defied every expectation. It slowly lowered itself, its immense hand reaching out, not with a clawed swipe, but with an almost tender touch. Then, in a moment that would forever defy scientific understanding, it gently scooped the cub up, not as prey, not as a burden, but cradled it carefully against its broad, muscular back. The cub, still dazed and weak, instinctively clung to the warm fur, finding a strange, comforting anchor in this most unlikely rescuer. The gorilla then began to move, not fleeing in panic, but with a purposeful stride towards a towering rock outcrop, a natural fortress against the dangers lurking below. Just as it reached the base of the rocks, a chilling sound ripped through the air, the cackling, mocking laughter of hyenas. The very pack that had left the cub for dead had returned, drawn by the scent of lingering fear, or perhaps the faint, desperate cries. Their eyes, gleaming with predatory hunger, immediately fixed on the stolen meal clutched by the gorilla. The air crackled with anticipation, a silent question hanging heavy. Would the gorilla abandon its charge and flee? But it didn't. It stood its ground, a colossal guardian against the encroaching darkness. With a primal roar that echoed across the plains, it snapped a thick, green branch from a nearby tree. It brandished it high, a crude spear, a symbol of defiance. This was not just about survival. It was about an unwavering, inexplicable commitment to a life that wasn't its own. What defines true courage in the face of overwhelming odds? Witness the moment limits are broken. 5 pairs of glinting eyes, belonging to 5 snarling, ravenous hyenas, circled the lone silverback. They were a formidable force, known for their relentless hunting and superior numbers. Individually, a gorilla is powerful, but against a coordinated hyena pack, the odds were stacked. Yet, the silverback didn't flinch. It remained rooted to the spot, the lion cub still clinging to its back, a tiny, vulnerable burden. The cub, remarkably, made no sound. Its tiny body trembled with rapid breaths, but it trusted the broad, protective shield of its unlikely savior. The gorilla met their aggressive advances with a thunderous roar that seemed to shake the very ground. It swung the sturdy branch, not just as a defensive shield, but as a weapon, smashing it against the earth with a resounding thwack. Each blow sent dust and pebbles flying, a clear message of its unwavering intent. It was not just defending. It was asserting a dominance born not of raw power alone, but of a fierce, protective instinct that transcended species boundaries. The hyenas, notorious for their cunning and predatory intelligence, were thrown off balance. They expected fear and easy retreat. Instead, they faced an unyielding, primal fury they had never encountered from a herbivore. The standoff stretched, a silent battle of wills under the harsh savanna sun. The hyenas, initially confident, began to hesitate. Their usual tactics of harassment and intimidation weren't working. The silverback's eyes, usually serene, now blazed with an intensity that seemed to pierce their predatory instincts. One by one, their snarls softened into hesitant whines. They exchanged uneasy glances, their tails drooping. Finally, with a collective, reluctant decision, they turned and slunk away, vanishing back into the tall grasses from which they had emerged. As the last hyena disappeared, the morning sun broke fully through the clouds, bathing the silverback in a golden light. Its broad, silver-streaked back, its powerful arms, and the unwavering resolve in its eyes made it seem less like an animal and more like an ancient god, standing resolute amidst the vast, indifferent wilderness. What happens when an act of pure compassion reaches its natural conclusion, and a hero must step back? Unbeknownst to the gorilla, the entire dramatic confrontation had been witnessed. Hidden in a distant observation post, a seasoned wildlife ranger named Elias had watched, transfixed, through his binoculars. His years on the savannah had shown him countless battles, but nothing prepared him for this. A silverback gorilla, defying its nature, protecting a lion cub from a pack of hyenas. He had expected the gorilla to flee, to abandon the cub. Instead, he saw courage, unlike anything he'd ever witnessed. As the hyenas retreated, Elias began to approach, cautiously. He knew the immense power of a silverback, and he understood the danger. Yet, a strange calm enveloped him. He moved slowly, deliberately, his movements non-threatening. The gorilla, still poised and watchful, saw him. There was no aggression in its eyes, no defensive posture. Instead, as Elias drew closer, the silverback did something even more astonishing. With the same gentle care it had shown earlier, it lowered the lion cub from its back and softly, deliberately, placed it on the ground before the approaching ranger. It was an act of profound trust, a silent handover of a precious life. Elias knelt, his heart swelling with a mix of awe and disbelief. The cub, weak but alive, looked up at him with wide, innocent eyes. The gorilla watched for a long moment, its gaze lingering on the tiny cub, then on Elias. And then, without a backward glance, without a sound, the magnificent silverback turned and melted back into the dense foliage, disappearing as silently as it had appeared. It left behind only the echo of its impossible compassion. The lion cub, named Hope by the rangers, was carefully transported to a wildlife rescue station. After several days of dedicated care and recovery, a miracle occurred. Through the lingering scent markers on its fur, a remarkable connection was made, and Hope was successfully reunited with its frantic mother. The savannah had spoken, not of survival of the fittest, but of a deeper, more profound truth. What if the greatest lessons aren't found in textbooks, but in the untamed heart of the wild? This isn't just a story about a gorilla and a lion cub. It's a profound narrative that ripples through the very fabric of our understanding of life. We often compartmentalize the world, drawing lines between species, between what's expected and what's impossible. But this silverback, in a single, selfless act, shattered those boundaries. It reminded us that compassion isn't exclusive to one species, one culture, or one way of life. It's a universal force, capable of emerging in the most unexpected places at the most crucial times. This tale, whispered by the winds of the savannah, urges us to look beyond superficial differences, to question our assumptions, and to recognize the inherent value in every life. It's a gentle reminder that even in a world that often feels harsh and divided, acts of kindness, courage, and selflessness can shine through, illuminating paths to connection and understanding. The gorilla chose empathy over instinct, protection over indifference. Its actions weren't about survival of the fittest. They were about the survival of hope. So, what does this extraordinary moment teach us? It teaches us that compassion isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it's a quiet, resolute act of protection. It reminds us that every living being has a story, and sometimes those stories defy all logic and expectation. And perhaps, most importantly, it challenges us to consider, if a wild animal can extend such profound compassion across species lines, what more are we capable of as humans? We hope this story resonated with you, sparking a moment of reflection and connection. If it did, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it with someone who needs a reminder of the good in the world. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that explore the depths of compassion and connection, reminding us that even in the wildest places, humanity's greatest lessons can be found. Thank you for watching, and remember, kindness is truly a wild and powerful force.